Politics joining us now. Philip, always good to see you, my friend. No administration ever wants to show weakness. Scale of 1 to 10, though, how big of a crisis does the White House think they're in?
The White House realizes that this is a problem, and it's been a problem since the moment that Joe Biden became president. He had promised that the uptick in migrants coming across the border illegally was just seasonal. That's a promise that he made during his first press conference. But we've seen the surge not let up. It's continued through the summer, and it's even continuing now into the fall. The argument from the administration is that they want some type of immigration reform, but they want to also tag it on to the $3.5 trillion spending bill making its way through Congress right now. That bill, just on the infrastructure side alone, is already facing a tough slog. It's going to be even difficult to find a long-term solution if they add immigration to that bill.
Yeah, we're going to talk to Pablo about the inner workings of adding immigration in a minute. This sort of juxtaposition caught our eye over the weekend. You have Kamala Harris, who is the declared border czar, flipping a coin at a football game. You have President Biden riding his bike on vacation. And then you have the images that you see right now there on the southern border under the bridge. Does the White House kind of think that if they don't fully address what's happening under the bridge, that the American public will not really worry about it or think about it?
Well, what we've seen from numbers that the Border Patrol has released, we saw that in August, that was a 21-year high. More than 200,000 migrants were taken into custody by Border Patrol. That was down just by 2%. According to their latest numbers. So what that tells you is that up until this point, yes, they have been able to get away from this. The administration knows that the president's handling of the border is unpopular, but it hasn't led to sort of wall-to-wall coverage that would continue to, force him to slide further down into the polls. I think that what you just said, though, what you just focused on, the fact that it is a specific bridge, that this is an area that we can identify and we can zoom in on, I think that changes things, because now we're not just talking about, hundreds of thousands of individuals. We're talking about a specific set. The American people can see what's going on. And I think that is ultimately going to create pressure.
So where does the pressure go? Do they have to I should say this. What's the specific pressure on the administration? Because they're caught between the rock and a hard spot of the images that they see and then their progressive wing, which says we should let more people in.
Yeah, and when you teed up the segment by pointing to all of the past presidents who have dealt with very similar crisis to this, but yet there hasn't been a solution, I think that encapsulates the issue here. It's going to be very difficult to do a hasty reform. It's going to be very difficult to do something that is going to change the system through a fly-by-night situation. But yeah, where does the pressure actually, explode out of? I think that we got a good sense of that in the White House briefing room today when you saw reporters pushing the administration clearly, from the left. They weren't asking for more restrictions or more security. They were complaining about the treatment of Haitian migrants. And, when Jim Acosta and others are noting that there is one standard for Afghans and there's another standard for Haitian migrants.
Yeah, you can definitely see where that
is headed in that argument.
Yeah, and also where it's heading on the argument over the immigration and $3.5 trillion spending, which is where we're going next. Philip, thanks. Great analysis.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Bear with me here for a second, because for the next part